Hello and welcome to Storytime with Nifty Natty. This is the time where I search up Reddit stories or stories I've seen on Facebook, maybe even a personal story here and there, and we talk about different scenarios. I'm a huge fan of people reading off of Reddit and listening to them. However, I'm also a mom and I have small children, and a lot of these story times have profanities and like some language that's not very appropriate. So it's my goal to keep things pretty G-rated, so that if you're wanting to just listen while you're doing dishes and your kid wants to watch Minecraft, this is the perfect combination. I personally like to play Minecraft. I don't like playing it on a PC, but for this purpose, I'm doing it on the PC. So if you're a mom and you want to learn how to play Minecraft, you can watch and just kind of see what I do. If you ever need to know how I did what I did, just Google it, because half the time that's all I do. How do I open the menu on a keyboard, on a PC? Because honestly, when I first started playing, had no clue. I'm just doing this in the living room in my house. I'm recording it at nap time, so sometimes you might hear construction noises outside, or you might hear a kid in the background, but I'm going to try to keep the sound as clear as possible. I'm excited to do this. I was a preschool teacher for years. I worked with kids in psychiatric residential for years. I've been a stay-at-home mom for years. I was a manager for years before being a stay-at-home mom. So I come with some expertise as a mom and as someone who's worked with a lot of different aged kids. And so I'm excited for this. So today's segment, let's just segue into that. We are doing family drama today. I don't deal a lot with drama. The only drama I've ever had to put up with is family drama. And normally it's funny, I have one cousin on each side of my family who's just like amazing. And so when I'm on one side of the family or the other side of the family, we totally team up. And when that drama's coming down the pipe, we're like, hey, let's go for a walk. Hey, I need to go to the store. You want to go? And off we go. So yeah, this is kind of fun. 3 different stories of am I the jerk? I am not going to call it what they call it because I'm trying to keep it pretty clean for all those listening. So I hope you enjoy the stories today. Let's get started. Our first story today comes from the Am I the Jerk category of Reddit, and it says, Am I the jerk for not wanting to help my youngest sister, late 30s, financially because she and her husband left good careers to jump on the real estate bandwagon we all knew was going to break apart? Sister is in her late 30s, married, no kids, and 2 previous bankruptcies. Her and her husband both worked in banking and made a good living when they decided to chase the real estate money. In 2021, our parents let them know how big of a mistake we all thought this was going to be. Everyone saw what was coming. They worked for a couple of years under one realtor, then started their own office by buying one out. Now they are in financial trouble as they aren't moving homes. We have always been very supportive of her, despite her being in her mid-30s, almost losing her home twice, constant credit card issues, car repoed, and really only wanting to be part of the family when she needs money. I've always been fortunate with my career and my husband with his, so when it comes to me, I usually always oblige, but I just don't want to this time. Example of how it goes when I loan her money. 15 years ago, when they were losing their home in 2009 after they both lost their jobs due to the housing crash in 2008, my husband and I lent them $50,000 to be repaid as they could. Our fault for using that terminology. Never anything but the initial, oh, thank you, you're saving us, and then a, yay, we finally paid you off, almost 10 years later. It was as if we owed them this money, and it was our honor to lend them the cash and free of charge, and a repayment plan that was comfy for them. Later, we found out that our parents let them a sizable loan that they still haven't paid a cent towards. Last Christmas, after not seeing them for 5 years and their arrival being somewhat of a surprise, the conversation moved towards real estate. Things got a little heated when our father asked them about the market and how that was affecting them. On cue, they blamed everyone else but themselves and how they were, get this, blindsided. Huge eye rolls. I imagine that's because that in the very beginning they said, you know what's going to happen to the market, right? Our father ended the conversation with, well, just don't come to your mom and I or Beckachu if you need money again. I didn't tell them that I had loaned her money previously. Last week, my sister called me out of the blue and let me know that due to everyone else's fault but her own, as it's always been, they can't make the numbers work and could really use a lift. I was speechless, but I should have known that it was a money call. When she finally asked if she could borrow some money again, I just replied, nah, that's not a good idea. I should have said 1,000 other things, but that's all I could muster up. I expanded to tell her that it's not a good investment for us because of her track record with us and the banks, and asked why she ignored all of us throughout this real estate journey. As she hung up, she said, you and your husband really are jerks. So am I the jerk? We have the money, and she's family. She did repay us, but I just don't feel like I owe her anything. This hits hard for me personally because we have a family member that does struggle with his finances, and when I read this, I was like, oh my gosh, it's like a mirror of what things I've heard. Like, it's never his fault. Everything is always because of this and that. And it's like, no, this is your fault. You made these decisions. Your lack of planning is not an emergency on my part. He actually had a good job as well, and then quit because, frankly, they were taking, quote unquote, too much child support. It's like, then pay your child support and they won't have to take it. So, yeah. Okay, so that's my opinion. I don't think this OP is the jerk. I think they are very justified. I think maybe go back and write a letter to your sister saying, hey, here's what I've seen. I'm not going to help you out financially. Here's how I could help you with our budget. Here's what works for us. There's other options than to help financially. But let's see what Reddit has to say. Let's see. Not the jerk. My sister-in-law is in real estate and is killing it. It takes years to build a client base, and you have to know what you're doing. So my guess is they didn't know what they were doing. Let's see what else. Not the jerk. You aren't the jerk for so many reasons. But honestly, you had me in the first sentence at 2 previous bankruptcies. And I think that's another reason why this hit close to home. Because my said family member also has had 2 or 3. I honestly don't. I can't keep track. We don't stay that connected. But yeah, the overall census is not the jerk. So there you have it. I say, set your boundaries and stick to them. And kudos on the parents for sticking to their boundaries too. Our next story comes from Am I the Jerk? And it's also from Reddit. And it says, Am I the jerk for not wanting to make a second batch of desserts for my picky sister? I picked this one because I'm going to say no before I even read it, because I'm the picky eater and I never expect anyone to accommodate for me. Like, if I don't like something, I just pretend to eat it and then go get something later. So here we go. My partner, 30 male, and I, 33 female, have become lactose intolerant and allergic to eggs over the last few years. And not in a, oh no, I have a tummy ache kind of way, but in a way that will have us confined to the bathroom in agony for 2 to 3 days. It's no joke. We've put a lot of effort into learning how to accommodate for ourselves and maintained a love for cooking and baking that's safe for us. Some of my family members have commented that they find our allergies confusing. And we've occasionally been caught at events where there's little we can eat because everything was cooked in butter and the only salad dressing was ranch. We've been getting better at either bringing our own dairy-free options or asking about meal plans beforehand when we're guests. My sister, 36, is a picky eater, and not in a mental illness kind of way, just annoying, and has been all her life. I totally resonate with that. She's coming to visit next week, and I've offered to host a family dinner. This is something my husband and I do frequently and really enjoy. We've even hosted dairy-free Thanksgivings and Christmas meals with little fuss, and none of my siblings or other relatives have food allergies. My sister has been talking up the fancy cheese charcuterie board she's going to bring for months now. She doesn't care that we can't partake and even asked for a fancy grocery store recommendation in our area so she could add local cheeses to the mix. I told her I didn't know of any, but kept my follow-up question, which was, why the heck would I know where to buy fancy cheese I can't eat? To myself. When she began asking about what we were planning to serve for the family dinner, I told her I hadn't decided yet and asked if she had any requests. I knew she had been trying to eat more vegan meals, so I was expecting something like that. However, her main focus was on substitutions on baked goods and reminding me that she didn't like curries, coconut, and seafood. So she asked if for desserts, if we could make 2 batches, one we can eat and one she prefers. She offered to buy the ingredients, but didn't clarify if she would also be the one to make the second batch or if she expected me to. Maybe I'm being too sensitive, but I think it's ridiculous to ask the host of a dinner to make you something specific that you know you can't eat. If she wants to bring her own dessert, her own butter for the corn on the cob, her own fancy cheese, that's fine. But to ask me to make 2 batches of dessert just because she's picky feels absurd. When I looked at the etiquette for this sort of thing, all the articles I could find were addressing how hosts can accommodate guests with allergies, not how to host when you have allergies yourself and your guests are being demanding. So, am I the jerk for not wanting to make a second batch of desserts that I can't eat for my picky sister? No. No, you're not. Reddit has also dubbed you. No. No, you're not. If she's really that concerned about it, she can bring her own dessert. If you really don't want that kind of food in your house, you can say, hey, we really don't want that food in our house, but you can have something after you leave. I would honestly just let her bring something, like a secondary dessert if she wants to bring one. I have a friend that has a lot of different allergies, and she opens up her house to host quite often. We have a once a month thing we do. And she has a ton of allergies, and we all really try to be aware of it. When we cook stuff, we make sure it doesn't have stuff that would cause an allergic reaction. And if we do, we let her know. And she says, hey, let's bring cheese, sour cream, even though she can't have it. She brings her own, and it works out great. So let's see what some of the top Reddit comments say. Not the jerk, but you don't have to make anything for her. Just buy what she likes and let her have it. Demanding to cook a second batch is unreasonable. I would agree. I agree. Someone else says, not the jerk. It's kind of crazy to specifically request a host make anything, especially if it's just a family dinner and not a big event. Agreed. Let's see. Any more? Oh, someone said, your sister's the jerk. I'm a baker and have no allergies, but I'm a picky eater. I would never make that sort of demand. Me being picky is my issue and not life-threatening. So that's exactly how I feel. I am so grateful that my kids have my husband's palate because he'll eat just about anything. And me, I'm like, ew, no thank you. But at the same time, I don't require other people to make it for me. I'm like, no, I can handle it. Or like if it's something I don't like, I pretend to like it, or I pretend to take little bites, and then I go get something to eat afterwards that I'll eat, which, so healthy. It could be Burger King, who knows. And no, I don't eat Burger King all the time. I prefer to cook at home. But yeah. So you are not the jerk. Good job. Am I the jerk for not inviting my in-laws to my stepson's birthday party? My in-laws hate me, to say the least. My husband has a 10-year-old from a previous marriage. My husband and I have one son together that turned 1 a few weeks ago. I typically wouldn't have celebrated his first birthday. I wanted a location so my in-laws could go along with my husband's sisters. His parents think our home is too small to accommodate them. No one from my husband's family called my husband to wish our son happy birthday. None of his family showed up to the party. My husband's mom is big on birthdays. She'll even text my husband not to forget other people's birthdays. I have a long history with his parents, but they don't acknowledge my son. When they call my husband or ask when he's going to visit, they only bring up his 10-year-old. His family acts like my husband cheated on his ex and had a baby with me, when in reality his ex cheated on him and left him for someone else. When that relationship did not work, she tried to get back with my husband. This past weekend, my husband and I celebrated his 10-year-old's birthday party. His parents were livid that they weren't invited. His dad even threatened to cut him out of his will. My husband simply replied, "You should acknowledge both of my sons, not just one." I know my son is young now, but I don't want him to face rejection. He didn't do anything to anyone. When my husband's grandparents came into town, we had a planned dinner outing in advance. When we arrived at my in-laws, his grandparents weren't there. My in-laws live over an hour away. My husband's grandparents chose to have dinner with my husband's ex-wife. My husband and I waited for over an hour and a half with our newborn. Mind you, he didn't like car rides at the time. His grandparents walked through the door as we were getting ready to leave and got upset. So we stayed for half an hour, then we left. I do not like the treatment my son is receiving. I told my husband they could not come to my stepson's birthday party. Am I the jerk for not inviting them to the party? I don't plan on being around my in-laws anytime soon for birthdays, holidays, etc. So that's the end of the first bit of the post. And so just going on that, it's, I would say no. It's still their grandchild, even though it's not their first grandchild. And I just think it's favoritism. But I don't know what kind of relationship they have with her. But we're going to go on to the edit. We're not going to wait too long because there's a pretty long edit. Or there's 2 edits. My husband's ex-wife works at a fast food restaurant chain and works about 5 to 6 days a week, 10 hours a day. My husband's parents have him all the time on her week. My husband and I have good schedules as to where we can actually be there for him. His mom has no time for him at all, so my husband's parents have him all 2 weeks out of the month. His parents also celebrated his birthday during his mom's week. My son has been rejected since the day he was born. His dad, I'm assuming that's the husband's dad, did not see the baby until he was 2 months old, and we had to go to him. So the birthday was the final straw. Why should my son have to face rejection? His parents can hate me, I don't care, but it's not fair to my son. Also, the day my son was born, his mom didn't want to see him. She told my husband she would drive to the hospital so my husband can see his other son. It was my husband's week, and we asked for her to keep him while I had the baby. There are several other instances, just to name a few. My husband will not go for full custody because his parents will get the best lawyer in town for his ex. His parents are rich. My husband and I are not. So there's a little more to the unpacking. And yeah, I think the husband's parents feel like parents to this 10-year-old because they probably get more time with him than the mom does. So that would make sense. But like, why can't you just say, hey, we already celebrated his birthday with mom? But it almost sounds like the parents have a better relationship with mom than they do dad, which is interesting. So let's unpack this a little more. Next edit. For those of you saying there's more to the story, there is. So his parents do not like me because they can't control me. My husband was a mama's boy. His parents wanted us to move to their home, and I said no. They do have a very large house, but I had my own home before I met my husband. My husband and his ex lived with his parents. His parents also spent more time with my husband when he was with his ex. She lived with them, but would not be home because she preferred being with her sisters. My husband's dad also works out of state often and was never home at the time. So at the time my husband took his dad's place in the home, as odd as it sounds, he helped cook, he helped with his 2 teen sisters, he helped with his mom, with her garden, and spend thousands every year on her. My husband stayed with his parents while dating me, and his ex moved out after he found out she cheated. His parents also criticized her often, saying she was not a good wife. She was never there, always with her family on her days off. So long story short, there is more to the story, but I can't write it all here. That is some juicy drama, like family drama. And I'm sorry you have to deal with that because no woman should have to. And it's like, a man is supposed to like become one with his wife and cleave to his wife and leave the parents, and the parents shouldn't be trying to hold on. So no, you're not the jerk. I think the parents are the jerk in this situation. And honestly, I think the mom of this poor 10-year-old just doesn't care. I mean, she does work. That's good. And I don't know her, so she might care. But I think the grandparents are being way too overboating on this poor little 10-year-old. Although he probably doesn't know the difference. So I really hope it'll all be okay. But yeah, that's it. I think that's all I have for the Am I the Jerk today. This is our last story. So 3 not the jerks. I'll have to dig around and see if I can find some that are jerks. So let me know in the comments if you have anything you'd like to talk about, any advice you'd want for parenting. Obviously, this segment was family drama, but I'm hoping to do some on workplace advice. I've been a manager, so that'll be fun, or just parenting issues. So we'll see what we come up with. Hope everyone has a great day.